find it sort of funny.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, it works.
Cool. you have a good week?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You spend all your free time modeling in Fusion? I know I did.
Yep.
All your what?
All I
All
thought
your
about was
yeah,
Fusion.
right.
Oh.
3 times.
No, we
know
spent
the
that
concept.
with the servers.
Yeah, if you're
for
under
SC2.
21.
Relatable.
I spent the whole
Okay,
weekend
cool.
waiting for 403
So,
and Minecraft.
there's a couple things I wanted to go over before we get into sort of the, you know, the meat of what we're doing this week. So last week's section I thought went pretty well. It was pretty interesting to see, we had a couple of issues in when we were doing the modeling exercises together with lines not reconnecting, things not lining up when we went to extrude things, and working through that I thought was pretty helpful. I was thinking about it after, and it occurred to me that there's something that I should have reinforced when we were talking through it, and I just want to take a look at it quickly right now. Marcus, do you mind being a guinea pig for a minute? You can actually, if you want to leave that right where it is, you can pop another tab just by hitting the plus sign up at the top, and hopefully everybody can see the screen over here. One of the really most important things when you're drawing sketches in 2D to turn into a 3D shape is to make sure we're using the snap guides. And let me show you what I mean. If you do a new sketch, and on any plane, doesn't matter, and then draw like a rectangle, you can maybe start at the origin and just kind of go off up and to the right. So in the example we were doing last week when we were doing the servo mount, one of the things where we got a little bit stuck was, and I'm sorry you can't see the screen back yet, was we drew kind of a U-shaped piece around a box that represented the size of the servo. And a couple of people had trouble because like the line didn't connect back over here, for example, when we went to go and extrude that. So if you select the line tool, it's a really important habit. I didn't even think about this because I just do it so much. But whenever you start a line, if you want it to connect to an existing shape, make sure you get the snap indicator in the corner here. It draws a little box when it snaps to it. If you skip over that, you can recover from that. But when you're moving really quickly and you're drawing shapes, it's really important you get that because you're going to end up spending a lot of time going back and looking for where you missed it before. Another situation where that came up, Marcus, I think it was with you. Nothing wrong with drawing a sketch on the bottom of the part, but for some reason when you went to draw, I think it was a rectangle, it wasn't snapping to that corner when you started the draw. And again, that's okay, but it may lead to unpredictable results. So if you guys are drawing something and you expect something like a line, a square, a circle, something like that to snap to an existing bit of your geometry, and it's not doing that, figure out why before you progress, because it may end up with unexpected results there. So I just kind of wanted to go back over that. It's just one of those things where, yeah, like that worked great, shaded in orange, no problems at all. If you don't see it shaded in light orange like that and give you that closed shape, it means something's not connected, and that's something you're going to go back and fix before you can go further. Okay, cool. Another thing is I posted a link to a YouTube video in the Discord. I also added it to the playlist of Fusion 360 videos that are on the YouTube channel for LoisLab. I don't know if you guys took a look at it, but it goes over, the one that I put up, I think it was yesterday, goes over a couple of advanced topics. They're just things that I'm not going into detail in class necessarily, but might be helpful to you. So, for example, you guys probably remember whenever you start a sketch, a two-dimensional sketch, it has to be on a flat surface or one of the base planes that Fusion gives you in the workspace, right? But there's cases where you might want to start a drawing at some weird angle or in some location in the workspace where there isn't a flat plane, and Fusion gives you the tools to do that. So I talked through that in the videos and in a couple of different orientations. So it's a good thing to go and just spend a few minutes. I think the whole video is like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes long. So if that's something that you want to know how to do for any of the work we're doing today, you could take a few minutes and go and watch that. If you haven't been to the YouTube channel for LoisLab before, if you just search for LoisLab on YouTube, it'll take you right to the channel. And there's a playlist in there that has basically all the content we've covered so far, and then just a couple of extra videos. Okay? So I mentioned last week that last week was the last time that we were really going to all kind of work through some exercises as a group. I want to start having you guys work a little bit independently this week. So just two things that I would recommend going forward. One is you might want to go and watch that video because it's helpful stuff, and if you want to take class time to do that, that's totally cool. But in terms of you starting with your own designs, you can design anything you want. You don't have to be limited by my suggestions here, but I'm going to give you a couple of sort of design goals and criteria or something like that that I'd like you guys to kind of work towards. I think that they're a little bit challenging. You know, don't feel like locked into those, but if I think it's a good way for you to push yourself. I would like you guys to work on a design, something that you imagine on your own that has at least a couple of parts, and the parts should interact in some way. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what I mean. This is a part that I designed for a robot arm that I was building. It's actually on my desk in there if you're interested in looking at it. But this part right here is a gripper. So this is at the end of the arm, and you can use the robot arm can use this to clamp onto parts and pick them up. Now these two pieces are printed separately, okay? And I designed this part almost exactly like we did last week. A large servo fits right in this pocket. That servo drives a gear, and the gear moves this piece back and forth. But so this part, the lower part of this design, is pretty much something you've already done, okay? But the part out here that actually has the two sort of fingers for gripping, there's like a keyway here. It's like a trapezoid that holds this piece captive, all right? And I'll pass this around so you guys can take a look at it. But this takes some precise modeling, right? It has to be loose enough that the part can move, but it has to be tight enough that it doesn't fall, right? Okay, so you got to be accurate, or you got to be precise in your drawing. Now that's just one example. I showed you guys this, I think, a couple sessions ago. This I was kind of making. I think it's neat, but it's also a little goofy, I guess. But it's a pencil box where the hinge itself is made from a pencil. So you can just this is the other way. There you go. So the hinge pin is actually a pencil. And then these are two separate pieces where the hole that the pencil fits in through travels all the way through, and then the lid is sized to fit the box. Okay. So if you guys are careful with your measurements, there's no part of this design that isn't stuff that you guys have already done. All right. So that's another example. Now these are things that I've thought up. You don't have to to take my lead on this, but can anybody think of a really simple example of really anything, two parts of anything that fit together or interact with each other, or anything that's sort of interest to any of you guys?
Those Trivial Pursuit pieces.
That's a great example. So are you interested in making the holder as well as
Yes.
the pieces?
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. Game pieces, are like, there's kind of limitless options there. And that's a really interesting one because you can make one model for the pie piece and then print it in a bunch of different colors if you wanted to, or whatever. That's a really cool example. Anybody else have any ideas? I can throw some more out at you if you want, but then that's just me telling you sort of what I think about it. What about puzzle pieces? That's the kind of thing where puzzle pieces, if they work correctly, are friction fit, right? So one presses into another, and they're tight enough so that they grip with each other so they don't fall apart when you move them. So they have to be sized correctly so that they touch each other and they kind of, friction fit but don't fall apart. That's kind of a challenging example. That might take a little bit of trial and error. You could go a totally different direction. What about chain links? That's an interesting one. Could you print two links of a chain that are already joined together?
Yeah.
That should be possible, right? But you could also do ones that have to be assembled after the fact. I bet that's possible too. So anyway, just a couple of ideas. So what I'd like to do this session is, you guys can work together if you want. Or you can work independently, that's cool too. I'm here for you guys to kick ideas around. If you're feeling stuck and you're not sure of something that sounds interesting to you, let's just kind of kick around a couple of ideas together and kind of get you on the right track and get moving. There's one more thing I forgot. Let's see, there's one more thing I want to show you guys in terms of if the idea that you have involves things that go together with a fastener. Did I show you guys the little tiny robot that Michael and I were working on? It's a little robot we were calling Bob. Did I show you guys that? So that sort of design represents something that I do a lot, which is modular design, or basically things that are extensible. If you design parts like this, you can pass bolts through them to hold them together. If you're assembling something like a robot, you know, you got your Raspberry Pi in this part, you got motors in this part. But when I was designing that, I started with these two pieces, and then I needed to add something on the top to give me more ability to control the motor. So I just added another layer, like a sandwich, and the same bolt holes pass all the way down through. So it's a really flexible, sort of extensible way to build things. And if it's okay with you guys, I just want to show you really quickly how you can take one part like this and then design another part associated with it where the holes pass directly through. I mean, you could do it the old-fashioned way. If you design a part like this and you know how far away the holes are and in what direction, you can just remodel it. But there's actually a way where you take one part and then you create a second part and you transfer those features over to that part. And in the case of like really complicated designs, that's a big time saver. Okay. So, do you want to be my guinea pig again?
Sure.
Okay. So let's just run through it really quickly. Do you still have that tab open? Sweet. You know, we can just actually, well, yeah, or you could get rid of it. Redo one step so we get the box back. Okay? And then just toss like 3 random circles in it. And we're going to pretend that those are bolt holes for fasteners. Okay? Don't worry about where they are or what size they are. Just put them inside the box. Okay? Cool. All right, and then finish the sketch and extrude that so that we've got a piece with the holes going down through it.
So extrude the,
Extrude the part that's not the surface.
how high?
I don't know, 5 millimeter, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now you started the same way that I always start, which is slightly bad form. We didn't create a component first.
Right.
But that's totally cool. The way you get around that is if you expand the thing over there on the left that says bodies. Yeah, and then right click on that body, and there's going to be an option for create components from bodies, third one down. So that's the cheater way. It just turns the body into a component. So now you got a component. All right. So now let's create another component. Okay. So go up to the create menu and do create component. Okay. And then you can name it if you want, or just hit OK. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now start a new sketch. And when it asks you where to start, it started on the top surface of that part that you already have. So just click right there. Okay. Now, have we talked about the project tool before?
I don't think so.
Okay. So it's up in the create menu, all the way down the bottom, project include, and then project. Okay. Now what this does is it takes features from other parts of the design and projects copies of them onto this sketch plane. So go ahead and actually, yeah, you could do that right there.
Just click it?
Well, you could do that, or actually, why don't you click the circles? So hover over one of the circles.
Okay.
The actual line edge of the circle. Yeah, there you go. And then do the circles individually. Yep. And then hit OK. Okay, now those circles are on this plane. Okay. Now draw a rectangle around the whole thing. So like the enclosing rectangle is going to be bigger than the one that we copied it from, just to be different. I'm just being difficult. I do that sometimes. Okay, and then go ahead. You got to click again to end it. Yeah. And then hit finish sketch. Now extrude that up 5 millimeters. Make sure you get the inside part here too. So it's a little tricky. You can just go and click on the inside of the square as well. So if there's a line intersecting there, it will basically make you select all of the parts that are intersected by that line. Okay, so it's a little hard to see. So rotate the cube a little bit so we can see underneath as well. Okay, and then let's select the whole design, not just that component. So if you go up here at the top level in the browser, and come over to the right, there's a little radio button there. If you click on that, it selects the whole design, so it shows all of the parts. So what we've got here is we've got 2 separate components, okay? And because you drew the original circles and then projected them onto the second part, those holes will match up perfectly. They're basically copies of those holes. And that's exactly how I did this, right? I designed the little thing that holds the Raspberry Pi first, and then I designed another piece and projected those holes onto it, so that when I pass the bolts through it, they match up perfectly, right? So you can go through in a whole design that way, and all of your bolt holes will match up perfectly, because they're all drawn the same way in the design tool, and then they're printed on the same printer. So if your idea for a multi-part design involves bolting it together, then that's the way to go. So use the project tool to transfer those features. Does that make sense? Is that kind of clear to everybody? Cool. All right. So if you need help kicking around ideas, flag me down. Otherwise, go ahead and dig in. And yeah, what's up?
How do you select like an entire component just from here?
You can double click on it.
Okay. How do you? Oh wait, no, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You are very
I
welcome.
think I saw that actually. Can I make a copy of something, John?
Can you mean a part?
Yeah, like I've got this one. Can I make
Yeah, you absolutely can.
the same darn copy of the thing?
Yep, so the best way to do that is first to make it a component, and then we'll duplicate the component.
So I need to go to.
I want to make that thing.
Yep.
I am gonna. That's not even modular.
Remember,
The
right,
ones that you can put on this? No.
the third one down.
I want to make one that fits on the bottom.
Yep, so now you have your component.
So you just
there's
wanna
a
make-
couple of different things you can do.
Okay.
Okay?
What do you
If
want
you
special?
right click on that
What do you
component.
want me to cheat?
Sorry, I actually meant in the browser.
Here, where it's
Gotcha.
You get a different set of options over there.
You want your thumb to
On
be
the radio
like
button?
Doesn't matter.
this.
Just right click on it.
But why? But if he's not like that.
No, I need my mouse.
Really? Okay. There you go.
Got it.
It literally touches.
So there's a copy option.
boy.
Oh.
It does. Wait, these are
So.
Oh, you did a revolving.
Did you do move copy?
It's not grippy.
Yep.
So you did your revolving.
That will also work, but that's slightly different. So if you right click copy is what
I'm trying to
happened.
make
Oh, yeah.
Chinese knockoffs.
Oh, control C.
Okay. Now if you right click here again,
I put all of my
there's an option, you can either paste, or I think there's another, actually, if you go up here, sorry, if you right click on the top level in the design,
What do you produce?
I think there's an
Here?
option for,
Question.
yeah, where it says unsaved.
Nice please.
Oh, okay.
If you right click there,
Do I?
there's this
Paste-
option
paste
for
new.
paste new. Okay, so there's a difference between paste and paste new.
Okay.
Why is
Paste will create a copy of the component, but they'll be linked together. So if you modify the original, the change will cascade to the other one. So like if you put a hole through it, the other one will get a hole also.
That might actually be.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
If you do paste new,
Yeah.
they will be disconnected. And if you do a change to one, it will not automatically happen to the other.
Okay.
Okay? So you
But I
gotta
might want
choose
to
which way you
do.
want.
Okay.
Not gonna be a ball.
Okay.
I want paste them because.
Oh man. They gotta give it like a.
Jeff, I have a question. I never got around to, you said there's some good sculpt videos I'd like to, like, I haven't watched them.
Yeah.
I wanna make metal ball rocks.
Okay.
And I want, I think I use a split bottom.
Okay.
Split
It
it.
does.
But there's other ones that are better than it. It's just like this basically, the design.
That sounds
Those
awesome.
two interfaces.
Okay.
That's.
This is good.
They're like,
yes. Oh, it does work.
Recreate, invent.
Okay.
We're back to what I thought we were making.
That involves several operations that I have not tried.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll, you know, even help me figuring it out.
So, my first question is, should I start, I haven't been into sculpt, and I can't find any sculpt actually start with like a basic form, like a cylinder, with taper.
Well, you should feel free to experiment and do it any way you'd like to.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, if you do want to do a sculpting style,
Yeah.
then you start with this one right here.
The sheet metal.
Can I just have it?
Oh, that's,
No.
Bro, why
I
is
don't know why it's
this
not
moving?
moving.
Ball looks kind
I'm
of.
saying
or just kind of random thing. Yeah, either of those.
It's like a
are-
rotation.
And then that gives you basically, you can kind of press and hold all of the surfaces in
I'm not trying to extrude, I'm
Okay.
just trying to move it in a circle.
So play with that a little bit. see what
Yeah.
you
Move
think.
it in a circle. It's just error, the path is
Sick.
changing. Path is changing to the profile.
Maybe it'll be.
Just make the sketch on a different plane.
No, it's come back.
That looks like the same plane to me.
Sure.
They're on the same plane, they're on the same plane.
realized that I just
Um,
last
I don't know if we can
the
do
other day.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of maybe doing a project with that, but literally everything in that game is just ridiculous.
You mean like super
Where is
detailed
that?
and complicated, or?
Yeah.
On the river.
So Emma's babysitting and you and I are going.
Here's the problem. No woman.
You know she showed up at school, didn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Wow.
Was
Yeah,
was
so,
super
you know,
impressed.
actually, that's a really, can you actually?
I don't know,
talk
if
about
talk to herself.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's kind of an interesting example.
Like, babe, I'm calling you.
She's like, I don't know why you didn't just call her cell phone. We were like, yeah.
What are you trying to do?
Call you.
I don't know what
What's it
the
called?
history is, but.
Sure, yeah, I know, I should. I know.
You know what I could do?
What was I saying that for? Oh, stretch.
I could
So,
put
if
some
you take a look at
buttons
this
on
one,
my backpack.
right, that's actually kind of a cool example
What do you want
because,
in my life?
even though it's a complicated weapon, it's
Grab one.
made up of the same sort of simple geometry that we're talking about, right?
You've got one on your-
I think
on
you
your
could actually
picture.
do that. I would
That
start
would be
with
fun.
the biggest, most
I have
obvious
to.
feature, and
I was
then,
Symmetry tool, real life activated.
Real life symmetry. Yeah.
yeah,
How about that?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
use calipers.
Roland just wants to make something
so this looks to me
He
to be
really
a little
wants
more
to
advanced,
use the
right?
caliper.
But, don't be intimidated about it too much. Just start with the shape and then start working your way through it. Like if I were doing this, I would probably start with the barrel, and then maybe add that feature, and then continue on, and then add these pieces and that
Now
piece.
that.
And then just kind of work your way through. You may have to, at some point, use what are called
I need a bunch of
construction
paper
plans.
to write down.
We talked about
all
this
my
already. If you're working in Fusion and you wanna start drawing a feature, and like, let's say you wanted to start drawing this lower part right here, there might not be a flat surface down there for you to start drawing it on. And so you can create a construction plane in order for you to draw it, which is really easy to do, but, you know, you might want me to just show you how to do that really quickly, or you can watch the video. But, do you have, let me just show you a really quick example, if that's okay.
Why can't I select the
So
x-axis?
let's say
Why does it not
that
exist?
you started by,
Oh, you know, you can write.
So, let's say that you started
Time that.
with shape like that, and then
Are you gonna make a new function?
extruded
Is that your
it
thing?
out,
This is last
and this
year.
was sort of like, your barrel.
Touch my calipers with your calipers.
And then, let's say
Our
that you
calipers
then
next
wanted
to
to
each other.
And
And
like
like
this part right here.
I'm doing everything.
Okay, now, because of how I do the barrel
Why
here,
are you
there
subtracting
isn't,
piece of garbage?
you probably wanna start drawing
Computer
that
just
lower
decided
section
to
like down
be
here
a
somewhere.
complete
Because if you look at the image, that's like, I don't know how big this is really like, but let's say that's like the bottom of this is like 3 inches down. Yeah, now there's no flat plane 3 inches down for us to draw on, so we need to create, okay? And so the way you do that, is you go up to the construct menu, and you create something called an offset plane. And all that means is, you're creating a plane that is some distance away from the plane. Okay? So if we wanna draw on a plane that's down here, we choose a plane that's parallel to it, and then we just slide it down like that.
How many
So I
times
did
is it? Definitely doing this
offset
much
plane,
harder than
shows an existing flat surface.
Yeah.
So now,
But I got a
what
bunch of
we do
stuff. I
is
got 2 tickets to the
uh,
Granite State
this
Umbrella
plane.
Tours. I got 2 tickets to the event on Saturday. Yeah. And then they're doing, one of the inns in Exeter is doing like a beer
So
industry
now,
thing.
we extrude
So there's
that.
different breweries and fourth Thursdays, and I got apparently entry into like the last three of them. So I was like, wow, this is cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I want a rocket book.
Something like that. So that's a way that you can create the surface
I'm-
view.
I'm rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. So, based on the sketching stuff you've
Just
done
make a bunch of
before,
copies of
and then
things.
plans like that, I think you could probably
Yeah,
do.
because I'm gonna do those 6, right?
Why don't you give it a try?
Of course, these are on like different planes now. It's weird.
You get stuff
They're
just
not
made up.
gonna
You can
turn
do
into a circle.
No, they're gonna fit into a circle.
Hey, for any of you who have 3D printed stuff before, any idea what I did wrong there? It printed like that.
Oh. That's a lot of overhang.
Yeah, oops. What I should have done is lay it down like that, and then it would have printed fine. I just totally forgot.
You didn't calculate the droop?
Not at all. But yeah, it's
Is
you
that the
can
technical term, the droop?
the droop. Yeah, if there was another wall over here for it to interconnect, this printer probably would have made that happen.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty good, but just going straight out over open space in the back, nope. So that part didn't come out.
Have you seen the, like the 3D printer pens?
Yeah, I have one actually.
Do you have one?
Yeah, you wanna play with it? I never use it.
Are they great? Like, are they
I mean, they're okay. They're fun for,
party tricks?
it's sort of like free-form sculptural kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I wouldn't knock it, I just don't use it because, actually, that's not quite true. I have used it a few times. I don't tend to do free-form stuff, I tend to do kind of more like technical
Right.
modeling stuff,
Yeah.
that's just kind of what I'm into.
It's just not the tool for that.
Not really, but one thing it is great for is, I did a design for some, what? Yes, exactly. I did a design for somebody, they came into the makerspace, they were doing this sort of like custom RFID tag thing,
Yeah.
where they had the RFID part that they needed inside the 3D printed part. So we printed two half shells, the part went inside and then we put them together. And you can glue them, but some plastics don't glue very well.
Right.
So we loaded up the 3D printing pen with the same filament that we used to print it with, and then just ran a bead around the outside,
Oh, good.
and it sealed it. So it's great for that,
Yeah.
so.
So my next step here, like if I wanna make a circle.
Yeah.
And then have those shapes around the circle.
Yeah.
Can I copy one of those, put it in, and extrude it down?
Yes. I might have a better idea though.
That'd be cool.
Okay. Why don't you, first of all, save this,
Okay.
right, because I'm gonna have you delete a bunch of stuff. Well, I want you to be able to get back to it if you don't wanna do it the way that I do.
Cool.
Okay? So save everything first. Check this out.
Alright, saved.
That's the best reaction. So, what were we gonna say? Say it out loud. What was the rest of that sentence? Don't be embarrassed. Were you gonna ask if the belt is 3D printed? Yes, the belt is 3D printed. It's printed out of flexible PLA, or sometimes they call it Ninja Flex. Yep. So you print the belt on its side and then lock it over there. When you're done playing with that, pass it back to those guys so they can check it out. Yeah, it's because it printed, it's sort of holding the shape that it printed in, so the belt's a little lumpy. You can pull it off of there if you want, you're not gonna hurt it. If you wanna pull it off and take a look at it. Okay, so can you, let's see. Down here in your timeline, these things that are like the two squares, those are your copies.
Mhm.
Can you delete all but one of them?
Can I go this way too, like with the undo button, okay?
Probably? Try it.
Oh, I was messing around with them, that's why.
That's okay, just undo a lot. Okay, and then let's make a little bit of a modification to your original one. This is the sketch you did, right? Down here on the timeline. Double click that. Try again. Yep, okay. I want, let's see, how can we, yeah, pass it back there so they can check it out. Ideally, I would like the point of this to be at the origin,
Okay.
okay? Can you, if you can't move it, there's another way you'll do it. Is it, doesn't want you to just click and drag it? Okay, that's all right. Let's do it the other way. So undo what you just did, so your shape is regular again. And then go back out, hit finish sketch. Oh, I know what we can do. Okay, we're gonna make a pattern of these pieces. We're
Okay.
gonna make a circular pattern of these pieces. To do that, we need a center axis to revolve it around.
Okay.
And that just means a line that's straight up and down.
Mhm.
So we're gonna, the tip of this piece is a line. We're gonna use that line to revolve.
Okay.
Okay. So go to, I think it's create. Go to the create menu. Pattern, circular pattern. Cool. Pattern type, change this to components, maybe? Yeah. And then select component 1 over there.
Just click on this?
Yeah. Cool. And then axis. Click on axis here.
On select?
Yep. And then click on that line. Nope, not that line. That line.
That line?
Yep. Cool. Now change the quantity to however many you want. 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So hit OK. Okay, well that's good.
Well, this is way better.
The pattern tools are like my favorite tools in the program. I use them all the time.
Yeah.
There's also a rectangular pattern tool if you don't like circles. Okay, so now you got your game pieces, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, so you want to extrude, you want to create basically a pocket for
Yeah.
these to go down into, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine how you would draw that arc, right? How would you start?
Well, my thought was, save this,
Yeah,
and then do, like, copy this on
Yeah.
top of a circle, and extrude these down,
mm-hmm.
so that I've got like 1 millimeter or whatever
Yeah,
for the base of the circle.
yeah. You don't need to get rid of these to do that though. You can build the pieces pretty much right on top of what you've already done.
Okay.
Okay, so start a new sketch. Actually, start a new component. Let's get into that habit. Right, so create a new component. And if anybody is interested in what we're doing, we just created a pattern of bodies, and now we're going to create another component that's going to hold those bodies. This is pretty interesting. Okay, so just hit OK, create your new component. This is terrible form. You've got now like 8 components, all named components.
They're all the same. I can
Okay.
go through and name them after.
All right, so do a new sketch, right? So when you create a new component, it's automatically selected as active. Right?
Okay.
So when you create a new sketch, it'll be part of that component, right? So let's see. Can you rotate the cube? What we want to do is start it on the base plane. That represents sort of the bottom. Yeah. So swing around a little bit, because like it's a little confusing. Go. Yeah. It's the plane that's currently blue is the one that you want, but you really want it. You want to make sure you select it on the top side. Yeah. You can grab it right there. I think.
Is it this one?
I think it's this one. Right here.
Or this one?
Yeah. The other thing you can do is it's also up in the browser. If you go to Origin Planes, there's an export.
Hey Jeff,
Yeah.
real quick question, can you scale the size of a part in the 3D in Graceful Slicer? The
Yes.
program for that, you can scale it?
Yep.
Not?
Yep, no problem. Okay, so what's the first thing that you would draw in order to define this new component that's going to hold all these pieces?
I would think a circle.
That's a great start. Yeah, do that.
Okay. And I would want a 2-point circle, right? Because, or would I want a center point and put it right in the middle of those
I
things?
would probably do the center. I think that'd be easier.
So is that?
I actually like it. This is looking like a lime slice or something like that. You know,
I know,
cross section.
I know.
It's funky. I dig it. You're drawing custom game pieces for Trivial Pursuit.
For a crappy elections game in my class.
Hey, whatever works.
Alright, let's see. Let's make this at
I
least.
have no clue where that's
Let's see
saved.
what that does.
Is there a certain place that files save from Fusion?
It probably defaults to your downloads folder, but I don't know that for sure.
I don't believe there.
But you can always just export it again.
That's true.
Definitely citrus slice. I like that.
Okay, that's looking cool.
Yep.
So you were saying that you want the holes in the part to be this shape, but you want like a little bit of,
A little bit of play, like for
Yeah.
your gravity that you had in your robot.
yeah. So, let's try, there's a tool called the offset tool. Let's
Okay.
try that. So go up to the create menu.
Do I have to hit finish sketch first?
No, it's a 2D sketch tool.
Okay.
But it's not seeing it.
Is it within something else?
It could be. Maybe it's under modify. Go over a menu. You don't need to be afraid to look around. There we go. Offset. Third from the bottom.
Yep.
Alright, and then click on one of your game piece pie things and see if it picks up the shape. You, I mean the line, like the outline of it. We might need to project them first. Cause like,
Yeah,
yeah, it
something's
doesn't look
going
like they're
wrong.
in this, they're not like accessible to us in the sketch.
So they're kind of below
Wait,
that
what
so
Yeah.
file do we?
So,
Okay.
so use the project tool and project all 6 pieces, like we did
Okay.
before.
So do I have to flip this over to get to them then?
I don't think so. Just go to the create menu, go to project included and choose project. And then try clicking on the individual pieces.
Ah.
Yeah. There you go. Good job.
And then okay.
Yep. Cool. Now try the offset tool. This might get a little weird because of where they intersect in the middle, but that's all right. I'll figure it out. Yeah, click on one of those.
Do I have to click on the line itself?
Yeah, click on the line. Yep.
Okay.
And then do an offset. Like drag it out. Like click on that little thing under your hand there.
Yep.
And drag it outward. So it looks like outward is negative numbers.
Yep.
You don't need a lot. You could probably
No.
do half a millimeter or a millimeter. You only need a little bit for it
Right.
to fit in there. So try like negative 0.5 and see what that looks like.
What type of file does this want?
And yeah. You repeat that for the other ones. It's gonna take a minute because there's 6 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, keep doing that. Hi.
What type of file should, if you want a 3D printer, what type of file should it be saved as?
STL. So if you're in, are you in Fusion?
Yeah.
So if you right click on the component or the body or whatever, in the browser, which is on the left hand side, that tree there, if you right click, there should be an option there that says save as STL. We're gonna look.
Save as STL, yes. Format, binary structure.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything, just.
Okay.
It's okay if I print this like multiple times to get it.
Why not?
It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Is this the sculpt thing?
Yeah.
Alright.
Jeff,
Yes.
why is this not, so, I was just making like a little car that was gonna be like a bearing that symbolizes a bearing.
Sure.
And so, I was gonna mirror that
Mm-hmm.
on this line, so, whoops. But, mirror,
Why is this
Mhm.
organized in so funky?
but, well, instead of giving me the option for the line, it gives me mirror plane.
Yeah, so in this case, because you're in 3D land, it wants you to mirror on the other side of a plane. So like if you have an object over here, it wants one over here. So I'm not sure where you are in space here. So can you expand this thing here that says origin? And then click on, like select one of these planes. Okay, can you change your view a little bit so I can see where that plane passes through your design? Okay, you're over there. Let's see, that could be a little bit tricky. All right, so here's what we'll do. How long is the vehicle? Like, click on one of the lines.
So like that tank is 12 inches deep.
12.
That's an interesting,
4.9.
that's an interesting number.
I just made something
That's
that.
okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a plane that's right at halfway. Right. So can you remember that number?
Oh, this thing, right?
Yeah.
Taper?
312.
Yeah, 'cause you can like.
Yep. Okay, cool.
That's
So,
actually dope. It's kinda-
so here's what I want you to do.
Taper it out like a-
Go up to the construct menu and choose offset plane. Okay, and then choose the end plane at the end of your. No, I mean like the flat surface that's the end of your car there. That's okay. You can just ignore that for the moment. There you go. Right. Now, what I want you to do is drag it this way, like drag a little arrow that way, and in this box here, type in the number. Keep the negative sign there.
What type of printer is this?
I don't remember. Something
I
dot
don't know, I mean,
849.
I could go for an extra $1,000.
No, 312. 312.849.
You know, extra 2,000 really.
Don't hit enter though.
Michelle and I.
Kind of gimmicky
Okay.
though.
Put a divided by 2 because you want to go halfway the distance, right?
Like
And then hit enter.
It's the house one.
I didn't have that. Oh, put the /2 after the millimeters.
Yeah.
Go to the end. /2.
Yeah, last day.
Cool. That plane is now halfway. So mirror across that plane.
I'm all for it.
That makes sense how I did that?
Cool.
How you doing, Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, let's fix that.
Well,
Jeff?
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay. Do you want help coming up with an idea? Or do you just need some more time to think about it?
Oh, I'm loving this job. This looks cool.
Do you want a suggestion?
There we go. That's not my issue.
Wait, what?
An idea of something that you want to do.
This looks like a funky piece of citrus.
Yeah, that's neat.
I mean, I do have an idea, just,
That offset looks cool. I didn't realize that was a thing, but it makes perfect sense.
That's okay.
yeah,
Do you need any help?
Where's my
no,
plane?
I'm all good.
Okay. Well, let me know if you need some help, okay?
My plane vanished. It errored and my plane vanished.
Can you cancel?
Like, I did it once and it errored and then my plane is gone.
Can you undo?
I've been looking into, we could plug Chromecast into.
That's really weird.
It is, I've never done anything in that class.
Yeah, your plane is not there anymore. Can you do it again?
Because they're broken.
So choose the end
If
plane,
a Chromecast is
or the end surface.
It's like asking for
No.
yeah.
So is it 312.849?
But I don't know if that works that way or not.
I have a easier class. Electricity. That's not.
Oh yeah, that worked. Okay, cool.
This buckle.
No.
You are very long way off. I'm making I'm not gonna instantly.
No, I'm doing like 1,000.
You're gonna just be like,
I'll see what I did.
There's a redo.
Design pattern.
You change that,
No, that's
the pattern type,
Merge
you change that to blind.
Yeah, you could.
Okay. Expand.
Objects to objects.
Joy.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's just like,
Wait.
yeah, it just links them so that if you move them,
Who had a question?
that's just like in.
new firmware available.
Just,
Just update Windows.
it's on the printer.
That runs on Windows.
Nope.
Really, no.
Or does it?
No.
It's a printer.
It runs something Linux based.
Well, it runs on electricity, so it runs,
Jack, are you done?
so it runs Windows.
I made a quick chain note.
Then that runs Windows.
Yes, it does.
But it just said that that's the right one.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
because there's like a lot of options.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah.
And April says
So everything's
Windows
offset.
All my components have ended up under the same.
It says
Okay.
window
Why
bad.
It's, I mean, it's neither good nor bad. You should be able to work them It's, if you do something instead of on parts, it's handier if you export them separately, then you can reorient them independently.
Personally built computers with Mac OS
But it fits like.
time to stop. I can see why Apple was.
Oh, that's cool.
because it would like.
Yeah.
I always do that.
Yeah. How big is
I always screw
the-
that.
I kind
I was like 7 components here, I was like screwed one of them together. 6
That's really nice. So is this just something to kind of fidget with, or is it,
That's not what I want.
yeah, that's cool.
You know,
Do you,
We should just 3D print.
my computer that I have has the software version.
Let's tell you what,
Do you want to install the printing software on?
Oh no, but how I know how that.
oh, falafel came out pretty good. We're gonna put it out, we're gonna reheat it, which is not really.
Hey,
We're
is
gonna
the
reheat
printing
it, so
software
it'll be
in
great
your
for
computer?
lunch.
Yeah.
Can I use it?
We cracks open the can of tahini.
Do you, would I need a memory card reader?
So, like this thing.
That's micro.
Oh, I'll just grab the one from my computer. That's
Yeah.
cool. Sorry.
He opens it, he goes,
What's that?
It's just pushing out the.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's just warming up. Don't worry about it.
Don't ask questions.
I'm like, try again. You should smell a little bit like
I'm gonna go grab you.
Yeah. You gotta stir it up. So he goes to stir it, and then there's like this much oil, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
It's hard to stir.
no, but he's like the daintiest stirrer I've ever seen him, you know? Like, you're afraid of the oil. I don't want to get any on you.
Only a minute print.
You have every part of a car all over you.
Chain mail.
Yes.
Do you have a
Entire set.
So we air fry the
So,
falafel. Anthony made it.
First thing I wanna do-
It smells a little off, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be okay once it's.
so you can go up to where it's 50%.
And then we've got tomato. some
There it
lettuce,
goes.
cucumber, some onion. We can do it.
You say okay, and it's
Frozen
asking
pita.
you
But Kate and I each try a piece. And it's pretty good.
So,
Nice.
For Alyssa.
It's good. I'm gonna use that recipe.
Yeah, it's all right.
this computer.
Cause I've made falafel before, and it came out great, and then I tried it today. Like just
Actually, let's just make sure that.
Oh, no, these well, we did the air fryer, right?
So this is the
So, I
slicing
mean,
program, and.
I didn't realize, like, I've never
if
used
you
that.
wanna come back and use it for
Yeah.
you can just download
This
it.
goes in there.
Use
I'm
your
like,
website.
no, it's like, I'm like,
And,
but,
so,
excuse me.
I don't know why that's from.
Yeah.
Because if, like, you can't spin the falafel discs while they're cooking, because they're gonna just like.
Yeah. So the pit worked out.
Yeah. And there's nothing special about it either, which I thought was interesting. Mine has.
Oh, what, someone's actually done it. It looks terrifying, but someone's actually done it.
yeah.
That's cool
I
though.
haven't done anything except for make this.
Well, you got that cool
perch.
This wasn't Shirley Jackson.
I had to start. I had to start with
Just
perch.
keep me right.
But it was on the bottom. I built that. I built that out the bottom.
Oh, this is what, when I get home, this is what I'm.
So that's what they go with, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, there's people have already
Her
done
birthday's over the summer, but she wanted a cake. I'm like, alright, what kind of cake do you want?
It's
She's
like
like, I
one
want
of the most
cake.
fun things.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember.
It's
Put Google search on it, Jack.
I did a Google search and look at how many 3D printed objects are coming. I didn't even write 3D print. Look at how many 3D printed.
So I got the cake. I've seen all I made. Cut into
That's
pieces.
still probably gonna take a while.
I made peanut butter frosting when I got home.
That's not
So I'm gonna put it
That's like
together
fine.
in a snake
It's
shape,
just
freeze
3D
it, and then
One,
she
and
wanted
two,
Reese's Pieces.
alright, you proved your
So
two.
the Reese's
3,
Pieces
4,
all over to give it the texture.
5.
No little compost explode.
It's got some because ours are close.
Yeah.
Of course, he was suspended last year, so we
I really want to make a bracket out
can't.
here.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could make like on for my hot
I'm like,
dog
wait a
house,
minute.
but I
Come on, we definitely did that.
I don't know how I would get those numbers.
Let's make a business.
Thank you.
We'll make this look like a picture.
Drew have a lot of mounts.
So it goes to the left-hand side. and then-
We'll make it opportunistic.
It's not even the main one of the mouse, it's just this rolling.
Not his main one.
Laptop.
That's okay. I just forgot to put this in my pocket.
Jeff.
Hang on 1 second.
Wait, what?
Now we wait.
You're dumb.
I have 2 razor mics,
Yeah.
the exact same razor mics.
Dumb.
And I use the razor mics.
To destroy the razor.
Cool.
Ryan.
Ninja Flex, or flexible PLA. The school of that stuff is actually on the thing. It's just a little difficult to print with.
No.
You have to use some special settings. Cause like,
I just needed to-
if you imagine the, where you have filament, like,
Oh, I see. Wait, hold on.
it forces you to nozzle, no problem. This stuff's like cooked spaghetti. So when it tries to feed through the nozzle, it just goes everywhere. But like sometimes it'll like poke out the side, like, you know, it's like, imagine trying to like push the end of a cooked piece of pasta. It it doesn't go very well.
You
And
can
then
get
the other
it.
thing is that
Yeah, oh, yeah,
it sticks so well to the print surface on the printer that on one of these it actually ripped up some of the printing surface. So it actually prints better if you put down like blue tape or glue stick.
So is that what's on that?
Are these the exact same diagram?
I think it's on the underside of that bed. Is there's a few chunks that ripped off. Does somebody have a question?
Oh, is this the same length as this?
What? It's not like the same as this.
I tried to make
It's
one
like the same as
there.
this.
Oh,
It's the same as that.
Plus the thickness and a little bit more for the end kind of strong, so there's a little bit of freedom.
Can you try explain it to me one more?
So,
That'll be cool to see. I didn't work. Did you take your case off your phone?
Yeah.
Jordan, print a case.
I'll print it.
On my phone. I'll print it on my phone.
Straight on.
Oh,
It's never coming off.
It's like the
Oh, yeah.
cloud with the chance of people.
Oh, you figured it out?
I figured out something.
side that you
No.
It's gonna snap.
Oh, okay.
Is that where you can?
So,
making a second
let's
for
see.
I
We need
don't know what I want.
how you draw the top and the bottom and then set the width. Is that how it works? I forget. I don't know how to set that.
Yours is that.
go how far you want and go how far I want.
Okay, alright, so why don't we redraw this a little bit? So if you.
Yeah, it's just half a sphere. Like a shell of a sphere.
Okay, so I'm not sure that that's the center, so let's make sure.
Yeah, what if we get like medical
So,
you can get really
if
expensive.
the whole thing was 100, then you want the whole thing to
Medical grade calipers. It's artery.
Function artery.
Would you like to buy a $350,000? Yeah. Do we even know if it's precise
Yeah,
though?
that looks right.
It better be precise.
It
didn't funky.
Not funny.
Is that what you want?
Funny.
I'm just gonna create a new one and just create this one.
So now maybe.
That's sound. Fan. There's usually no gaming distractions.
Yeah.
So because the circle is cut into 3 pieces by that way.
How's yours doing? They're making like an insane stuff.
I mean, yeah.
Universal one of those things.
So I think we're trying to cut
Only a month in.
And my grades are like.
That's a cool.
I'm proud of.
Dude, my grades are fine right now.
So maybe we can stick
All
with
of
it.
them. I know beta is not. I think what should work to be universal.
Holy cow. Okay.
I don't, I think, is there a way to scale university to make it really small, like one of each?
It's, well, in terms of scaling, it's easier to scale it in the printing program.
Is it
But,
possible?
what's that?
So I'm moving. I don't want to stay.
Yeah, looks like it. How do you go to
It's really thin. It's very, very thin.
I just need to know. Yeah.
I think I made it a little bit too thin.
I think they'd be close together, but I do. Oh, I hate that noise.
No, it didn't break. Let's go.
You made like a clock chart for every day.
How the hell am I gonna get this here?
Careful.
So, can I give you an idea? Actually, it's an idea for revision 2.
Bigger.
Well, okay, that's a good start. But let me give you another idea. So, have you done much 3D printing before?
No.
Okay.
Bro, you have your sneakers on.
Okay, guys, if anybody's interested in like random 3D printing discussions, pay attention. If not, keep working. Don't worry. All right. So, if you're printing something like a cube, right? Wow, that actually came out. Right. No overhangs. Right. No support beam. Everything's good. Right? Okay. Have you ever printed a shape like, let's say you got a flat bottom and then you kind of come up at an angle, like maybe like
A bowl?
die from D&D or something like that. Something
Yeah.
like that. You ever printed something like that?
I know.
Does this need support?
Yes.
Overhangs, right?
But they're small. I mean,
Right.
that's the angle.
So the angle matters. In a lot of printers, you can get away with up to a 45-degree angle without support. Okay, not always, but a lot of
Depends
times.
on the quality. I'll figure that
It
out.
depends on a lot of things, like if you have a cooling fan, which this does, if you're printing PLA, which is ABS, that stuff like that. But generally, you can get away with 45 degree. So let me grab an eraser here. You printed a couple of interlocked links, right?
Yes.
I hope Michael doesn't mind me erasing his math. Oh, well.
It's
Looks like it is in Sharpie.
Magic
Anyway.
eraser.
What's that?
Magic eraser will take it off.
Yeah, or alcohol, I think I have some. But anyway, if you, let's imagine that you printed, how am I gonna draw this? Okay, you have one link starting with that, like this is what you just did, right? And then the other link goes like through it. I think I'm doing this right.
Perspective.
I know, right?
Difficult thing.
This is really hard. An artist I am not.
That's correct.
Okay, cool. Right? So that's what you did.
Yes.
And that came out fine, but you need to support.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to draw the end view. What if you did one of your links like that, and the other one interlocked like that?
Oh, I'm not doing that.
So looking at that from the side, that would look something like. I can't draw. But anyway, like they would be interlocked, but this one is tilting that way, and this one's tilting that way, and they're locked like that. If you could draw it like that, I bet you could print it without support.
Instead of printing like this, maybe like that.
Yes.
Yeah, because the supports have, I believe,
So,
melted
like,
to the actual.
yeah.
Oh, then they're touching each other, you don't need to support it.
Well, I think you could get away with that anyway. Yeah, if they're touching, you definitely. But also like the oval, like one of them like tilted at a 45-degree angle, and the other one tilted the other way, interlocked at the opposite 45-degree angle.
Or they're almost separated.
How long? That's quite good.
That's probably going to take a while.
Yeah.
If you want to leave them on, like and print the file, like between now and next week. But oh, let's get really nerdy. Can you cast up to the screen?
Sure.
Okay.
I want to try to build it in the program.
Wait.
Like,
Yeah.
Don't use don't cast.
I think I fixed it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Where do I
try.
go?
Yeah.
Do I have to extrude everything, Jeff, at the same time?
Just extrude that outside.
Because I tried that.
The
and
other
I-
pieces are already extruded.
Okay.
So try extruding just that piece. Let me
Okay.
see what happens. And then switch over if you do.
So.
How do I? Click desktop. Sources.
Yeah, hit OK.
Desktop. There we go.
Okay, now.
It did not.
So I lost those pieces, right?
Yeah, can you go and select one of them over on the left-hand side? I'm confused as to why they're not visible.
Yes.
Okay, double click on this extrude operation to pull it back up.
It is not casting the desktop. I did the sources.
Desktop. So unshare and then share again. And then click desktop. Okay. Operation new body. That should be totally cool. If you can't cancel this. And then hang on a second. Can you delete that extrude operation and see if your pieces come back? So, oh yeah, I can do that. And do it again.
I actually don't think this will work because I think it won't work.
This is very confusing. I'm not sure why the bodies are no longer
Is greater than this here.
visible. Redo
I
forward
need to
again.
make something. Oh yeah,
And then,
they're not gonna be able to move, so I can bring it down.
okay, right click component 2:1, that bottom one over there. It's the bottom one. And there's an option for suppress. Okay.
No, I'm gonna move
Or,
this
I guess it's show all. It's the one
No,
with
no, I
shortcut
know
V.
the issue is there.
This one, show all.
No, two up from there.
No.
Oh, okay, show high.
Because you're gonna hit like this. Even if you.
Okay, so those are.
circle.
I think that they're just so similar to the shape that we're extruding in there.
No matter where you go.
So let's check this.
Oh, no, I got that.
Click on this little radio button right here.
I don't know if that's gonna.
Yeah, they're still there. Okay, so go back to that component. You don't have to do the right click show eye thing. You can just click on the little eyeball. It's right here. It toggles the visibility. Yep. Okay, so extrude that again, and let's make sure that those components stay.
Do I turn off this component then?
You don't have to. You need to select the one you want to work on, which is the bottom one. So go down to the bottom one and click on the radio button next to it. That's how you make it active.
Out of
Yep,
plastic.
you need to modify the extrusion that
The
created
harder
that.
your
First,
computer
let's
becomes,
grab
the
it.
more liquid your heat sink becomes.
It's a little tricky. You gotta find the one. Double click on the part you're trying to modify. Okay, cool. Then, there should be a little, if you hover over it, there should be a little radio button you can check. It's just the radio, yep, do that. And that should show just the operation here. Oh, is that a copy of this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can modify that. So find that one and make that one active.
Yawn.
He did this.
I don't think this one's on that.
You gotta click the radio button next to the one you want to be
Oh, okay.
active. And it'll automatically go check that one.
So is this one on a different plane than Jeff? It must be, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so, because I extruded this one up 9, right? Because the base is 10.
Yeah.
So I want it to fit down.
Yep.
Okay.
Can you click on the radio button right next to where it says unsaved here? Which you might want to do something about.
Yeah.
At some point, click the radio button. That should make everything visible. Yeah, now click over here just so that nothing's selected. Yeah, all your parts are there.
Okay.
So that's cool.
So do I need to extrude the pieces?
No, I don't think so. I think you can undo that extrude.
Okay. And then, is it gonna give me, because I want them to, like I wanted there to be a base, right, that they fit into, so that there's something on the bottom. So.
Yep, okay, so what I would do then is I would make that component active, it looks like it is.
Okay.
Okay. Draw a new sketch on the underside of it.
Okay.
Okay. Project the circle that represents the outside of the piece.
Okay.
And then extrude it 1 millimeter thick, and that will make a solid base the
Okay.
size of the circle.
All right.
Give that a go.
So we'll create.
I cheated because I couldn't get it. So I just moved the surface down.
Okay, that's definitely gonna bite you in the butt later.
What?
That's gonna bite you in the butt later on somehow. I just know. Okay, so a joint. You wanna do a joint?
Yeah, I had to fix one thing when I was on
Yeah,
here.
totally take your time. How's everybody else doing?
Oh,
I smell.
Compared to that 16 micrometers.
What are you throwing at me? That was.
They didn't go. They're really
I
light.
found them.
Yes.
All right, I will be right back, Charlie. What's up, sir?
Alright, so I'm trying to cut this in half.
Okay.
This way.
Okay.
And make 2 things that I can work with. And so I established this line,
Okay.
right, that went across that kind of side face.
Yeah.
This face, I don't know what I'm doing now, I was making another line, this way. Right? And then, so I've got some points along this line.
Sure. But you're trying to divide it in half.
Yep, so I went back to, so I finished my sketch, right?
How do you make something a?
So I've got all those points. So then do split body.
I think to do a split body, you need a plane to cut it.
Right.
Rather
so
than a line.
So construct, I found all the planes over here,
Yeah.
like the mid plane, that's really what I'm looking for, right?
Sure, or an offset plane to it.
Alright.
So an offset plane is like you choose like one of the base parts, like the XY plane you start cutting everything on. And then you say offset plane, choose that plane, and then you tell it what offset you want.
Look at that.
So, change your view so you can actually see those planes.
Hey, Drew. Drew.
You might have trouble grabbing.
Drew.
So, you
How do you
can
make
get it over
stick
here
a
instead.
line?
if you want.
You know, like,
But
how
like,
you
I don't know if
stick
you
a
can click on
marking
that.
instead of
Oh, yeah.
an
you
actual,
can.
like, something
So do you know how tall it was? Or you use eyeballing?
Just make a sketch.
No, I kind of,
Okay, so drag it up a little bit. So click on the,
Okay, I'm gonna make it regardless.
click on, if you click on the cube on one of the sides,
I'll be able to see.
it'll give you that perspective.
Actually, that was a pretty good guess.
I'm not I think the plane actually might be, click on the arrow on the right.
Oh, yeah, it's just for looking at it. Oh, there's a line.
Yeah, so.
John 30, okay,
Okay.
that's good.
So, okay, and then try to do that,
Now do it?
do the split body thing, right?
Yeah.
And why isn't that giving me the parameters?
They're right here.
Alright, so
So
body
body
to split, so
split.
choose the body, and then splitting tool, click on select, and then the plane, if you can see, you can click on it, it also shows up in the browser. So if you expand construction, choose that plane.
Do you guys both buy these on Amazon? These are his. Oh, these are his calculators.
Yep,
It's not gonna drag them apart.
I think so, double click. Maybe expand bodies. See if we have now 2 bodies. Yep, looks like we do. Click on one of them and hit M for move. And then use the arrow again. Click on this one there.
Now, can I rotate them separately or like?
Yeah, you should be able
Because
to.
now these are separate constraints. I
Yeah.
don't wanna build separately. Right?
Okay, well, you can, but you can also leave them in place and work on them. You can rotate it if you want. Click on that little circle and wing it around. Just,
This thing, I see it.
Where was your project again?
I'll
Create.
see the inside of it though.
Oh, you have to be in a sketch for the project thing to work. So do a new sketch, and then it'll be in the create menu and down to the bottom. What's up, Charlie?
Yeah,
Hey,
so,
that's cool.
yeah, it's basically just an array of 16 microcubes.
Create,
So
line,
it should screw up the computer.
Yep, yeah, so there's a better way to do it. If you hit OK, and then if you control click on microcube. Oh, well, we could use the mouse.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh my god.
yeah, like suddenly no right clicking with things. No, but let's not use this utility. If you hit cancel and right click where it says microcubes, okay? There's an option for save as STL. That's the format we use for 3D printing. Oh, okay, now it says the same thing. That's right. Hit OK. And then, yeah, as long as we don't have this checked, you can just hit OK and it'll save the file. So just save it in downloads. And so now your microcubes are saved in the downloads folder.
Now I can just put in mesh mixer.
No, you want to use the, like, to prepare it for 3D printing, use this right there. Yeah, that's slicer utility. Yep. And so then you click on add and go find your file.
I think I have it. I think it might work. I saw some
Yep,
talks
here
about
it is.
that. Like how to make them. I need help on figuring out how to make them work together.
Okay.
I have it.
So let me show you the first step in the for a few minutes.
Alright.
So go to assemble. Okay, on like right under it where there's the actual drop down menu, and then do joint. Okay. Now there's a bunch of different kinds of joints. There's like rigid joints, revolute joints, sliding joints, all that kind of stuff. So you're gonna want to expand over there. Okay. So let's choose let's choose 2 pieces to interface with.
Probably first one of the pins in the center.
Okay, so if you hover over the pin, yep, so that is the center point of the axis going through the part. So click right there. Yep. Now choose. It automatically moved to component 2. Where do you want to slide it through? Yep. So change your view a little bit to see. Oh no, that'll work. That'll be okay. Yeah, if you can grab this. Yeah, there you go. The center. Yep. Okay, so it's going to rotate that. Now change the type to. I think you want revolute.
Yep.
Yep.
Piece of citrus.
Okay, and then hit OK. And then can you change it the top view? I forgot to check the offset. Okay, the offset's not right, so let's edit that joint. We can just double click it right here. And then, yeah, just drag that back so that you got it about right.
I don't know, you're in a world that I have not explored yet.
Probably learn how to like.
Keep doing that.
How to various surfaces, right?
And I know how to
Technically, I should be able to create a
Yep,
sketch.
save for your nothing else.
Choose my surface.
How you guys doing over there?
I'm not entirely sure how to.
It looks like it is on top of it, it's just, there's space in between.
Your what things?
So
Make
I've
a circle.
extruded this
Yep.
sketch in here,
Mhm.
and I tried to draw a mirror line and turn it into construction, but
Cool.
I don't know how to mirror it on
Finish
here.
my
Okay,
sketch.
so use, in plain English, describe to me what you want to mirror.
Okay, this
This
on
circle.
top here.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you want to mirror it
Through
in
there.
what way? So like right now you've got this kind of like.
Like it's in,
Let's see what we got here.
Okay.
like this piece goes.
Now I can.
Okay.
Like in like this.
Oh, you
What I
want
was
to
looking
do
for.
that cutaway
Look, I want that
on the opposite side.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we can just look.
I know, but I thought I did.
If you click on that line,
Yep,
6 millimeters.
Computer says
So we need to create a plane that is
Yeah, it's true.
3 millimeters up from this bottom surface that you can mirror.
Yeah.
Okay? So the way you do that is you go to construct, offset plane. Okay? We'll use this as the comparison plane for like.
Alright.
And we'll go up.
You know what we should do is like 3D print some, like high tech.
Now, when you say,
Like Kravis tool.
Here. what we're going to mirror is that extruded object. And the plane is your offset plane.
He puts that one.
Wait, did we select
I saw that.
plane or?
No, I just mirror it. Just mirror it.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
See the
Right.
appear with that being the case.
Trying to mirror this side over here.
Okay, so how did you create that? Did you extrude it?
What are you making?
Me?
Yeah.
It is a monster. A monster, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Making a motor.
Oh,
Sure, is that gonna be able to rotate in on itself?
It doesn't look happy right now.
It looks like it's one on itself.
It is clipping quite hard.
The last one.
It looks like it's become one.
We need attachment points for those bits there.
Sorry.
I know,
I'm
trying to revolve.
Like teeth on the edge.
Is that the one that?
No.
I don't even know anymore.
Can I see the other one? Do you know, did you move this? Looks like you did a couple of different extrudes, maybe? Okay, so you created that extrude, and then. Oh, alright, I might handle that slightly different. So I'm actually gonna delete these other ones. And then on this one, when you extruded it, that left that gap, but what you can actually do is you can do a two-side extrude.
So first you create a
And
sketch.
so
And then you
that
select.
extrudes it this way, and then on this one, you can go
I'm victorious.
Jack.
No, it looks disgusting. What are you talking about? Wow.
So now it does it in one operation. It goes, let's say, you see what I did there? In one operation, it extruded out that way.
Those discs off to the side are like caps for the.
Yeah.
To do it in one operation. The reason that's important is now you can mirror that to the other side, and then you can use it. So
those stuff off to the side are caps.
in this case, if we take a look at other planes, so that's the YZ plane, that's the XZ plane. This one, if we're lucky, is right in the middle. Is that symmetrical? I think it is. Okay, sweet. So we can use that plane, the XZ plane, no? The YZ plane to mirror that feature to the other side. Okay? So the way you do that is go to the create.
The only time it looked ever good was that one time that I had it where I did
Now,
not.
for the object, select that extrude operation. It sounds like
Flip everything over.
Right, because it's symmetrical right
And
now.
then for the mirror plane, let's select that plane.
What you're trying to do is put.
Oh my god.
Oh, is it like this?
So they use that plane to mirror that.
Right now it is.
Is that cool?
And how it got that way.
So Jeff.
Yeah.
I don't know if I put this cap on the bottom the right way. It doesn't look it. Because it looks like when I You see what I mean?
Yeah, it looks like that exists on the bottom. It looks like the rest of it's not there.
Like that, yeah. Like this is the bottom, but it looks like the holes still go through it. So
How did you do it?
the way you said, I'm also
I did exactly what you
I
said.
did. I'm also very intimidated by this part of it, right?
No, you're doing great.
Like got like citrus.
Okay, so.
Let me go. Like how far back should I go here?
Is that
Construction plans.
No.
I'll be over in a sec.
I wanna make a triangle.
You mean in a sketch? If you go up into the create menu where like circle and rectangle and all that, there's one called polygon. That lets you draw a shape with an arbitrary number of sides. And when you start drawing it, you can tell it how many sides you want. And the number of sides should be 3.
I don't know, maybe I can't.
How'd you put those letters?
I don't know how far back I should go to just
Okay,
fix
so
it.
where is the outer part now? Like at one point you had
I know.
the solid thing extruded.
I know. I
Where you
don't know what happened. Can I just get rid of this component?
You could. You'd have to redraw the. Like you'd have to redo the offsets though.
Oh, then no.
Can you undo a few more? Keep going. Keep going.
Why is it giving me an error? I don't know, repeating that phrase.
I don't want an equilateral.
You don't want an equilateral?
No.
You might have to drive by hand then. I
So-
know, all those sides, it's hard.
What's going on?
So keep going or?
Come on, you got this. Yeah, a couple more.
What the funky Kong is going on?
The final emphasis.
Oh.
No, those are mine. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
Those are my
It's a
offsets.
lie.
Okay, so go back to the point where the offsets are done. Okay, now why don't you read?
Which, by the way, is broken. I'm not
So, you know, hit E and
It was at the
then
beginning of the sketch.
extrude the
Wrong.
thing.
One of the sides is a little too short, but it worked. Kind of. Well, it should work.
Okay,
Nothing
cool.
lies.
That's looking good. Now do a new sketch on
Why are you
the top and
putting
bottom.
escape key?
It's a bigger escape key.
Well,
It's
what
time.
reason?
What is this?
So.
Not gonna fit on your
Wait,
laptop.
it
Are you
does
making it go up?
No,
Do I
it goes
click
over this escape key.
on the space itself?
Are you in, yes, yep.
That's not how
So
buttons
new
work.
sketch, yep, there you go. Now draw. a new-
It will just be a cap for your escape
Yep.
key. It's escape lock. You've made an escape lock.
It's like that one. It's like if you press. It's like when you're working program where pressing escape like nukes the world and you whip that.
Okay, cool.
It's
Now hit finish sketch.
The escape lock.
Okay, now hit E for key again.
What's an I/O device?
that. Now select, yep, that and the inner pieces.
What's
You
an
need both.
I/O device? I wanted to know cost.
So that's everything.
Yep, that's a 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter.
I/O.
You know what? Or
Ah.
this?
Now flip it back around.
Like you know what?
Where you want.
It's like what if I make a new builder?
Good job.
Yeah, good
Wait,
job.
it's just like on the back.
Okay, how'd you-
Always like
Just a little bit.
Okay, but get
You wanna continue?
No, actually, I don't want it at all.
No, bro.
I got the idea that
It'll
this-
not be perfect.
Yes, but you're
So,
gonna
so undo, undo,
Things
so
in the
you
world
have
are
the
just made
rectangle.
the arbitrary decimal
And then
points
do an
like
offset
that
plane
creation right
again.
there.
Wait,
So, like, so this isn't a
They're like
flexible.
three axes that are completely eyeballs.
So do you?
Like, there we go, though, this is eyeballs.
What do you eyeballs?
Dude,
My
eye.
base plane that.
Like 0.753.
Top surface are really close to
Really
it.
close to it.
But you know with what should be kind of like things are just arbitrary. Real things are just arbitrary number.
Sketch on.
On that plane you just created.
Oh, I
If you
know.
keep clicking because it's buried inside, you can find it over here. It's that new one that you just created.
thing.
Okay. So I
Cloud
can
flame.
rename it.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is it a
Yeah.
friend?
You can call it Bob.
Is it a friend?
So now,
No.
so now I've got my home base, right?
Yeah.
So how do I do
How do I
the
simulate?
So they're still there, they're just
Oh,
sort
you
of
just
not
simulate?
selected
You
and
can-
active right now.
That's
So if you click
I
the
wanna
little
simulate
radio
that.
button,
I
that
just
should be up
want
next to
that.
your
I want
game
to-
piece.
do you have the
They
joints?
should all.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, click out somewhere else.
You go
because I already
into
selected that.
assembles and motions.
They're all there.
You
It's
can
just when you
add,
have one piece
so
selected
You
as
can add like
active,
distances
sort
and
of,
angles for stuff to move.
they'll probably all stick together.
Right.
Yeah,
So how does that?
you can print upside down, that would probably work. Or you can
The all
export the outside bit and
the
one
all-
of the inside bits,
Oh,
and then
you
just
don't-
print 6 of them.
Yeah.
And
You're
like
gonna
print them
click on
separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
Offset. You have to go click on like those like light tools.
It is a handy tool.
No, in there in the curve, like below the graph, this thing.
Yeah,
You set an angle. You set an angle.
there's a, pretty more thing
No, it's still a hole. No, there must be a way to simulate like motions.
Jack, did you have a question?
I did.
Did you figure it out, or do you still have a question?
Simulation, please.
I just have to tell you something, because my computer is really struggling right now.
Well, you let me know.
Don't compute all. Like summer.
I'm almost there, it's just.
I won't go far.
Is there a way-
So guys, just be aware of the time, it's 8:25.
Is there a way to simulate joints?
Yeah, so see, each time you created a joint, there's that little blue flag. Double click on one of them. That's
You
right.
have to click on them still.
Oh, yes.
No.
Yes. Check that out.
Is there a way to like bevel an edge?
Yes,
Oh, nice. Can you teach me?
I would love to.
Let's be better.
There's a bevel button.
Go to modify.
Bevel button.
Pull
Oh,
it short.
So wait a minute.
It's a rounded edge,
What's
and
that?
chamfer is a squared edge, like that. So whichever one you want.
I need to get this to
Pick
like.
whichever one you want.
There are too many options.
I know, it's
I
hard.
need to get this to.
Okay, let's just do this one.
How you doing, Drew? I haven't talked too much. You doing all right?
Good, I need to figure out a way to make this thing like.
You need to make it what?
Hey, Jimmy.
Because I have a joint here,
Yeah.
like in this down, this is a clamp.
Yep.
I just need to actually build something like.
Oh my god. Well,
Yeah.
so what you could do, like, do you want it to be adjustable or? Like, so what a common thing we would do is basically make a slit, right? So there's an opening, and then like a cross bolt. So when you tighten the bolt, it squeezes the two sides of the clamp together and won't rip the thing in the middle. So keep that in mind and see if you can. I'm trying to think. I might have an example. Oh, I do have an example. Can you come with me?
Bye, Drew.
Well,
Never
it's
stop
exactly what it
and
is.
then- I've been making that joke.
Oh, yes. Rolling. It worked.
Good job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Good job making it work.
I wish I could constrain it and like see if it actually works.
Train it.
No, constrain the ends and see if
Wait,
it actually
how
works.
does this do this?
So I know right
I just
now,
wanted to go.
the inner cylinder is like a little bit
Oh, I
smaller. Therefore making it go through.
Hello. How are you doing?
You made
So,
an escape
I have a
cat.
question.
Sure.
So it's all set up and everything, but when I click send to printer, nothing happens. So
Right.
does,
See, the problem is
is
you
it
had to
just
like
sent now?
base it off.
No,
On the
so
other hand-
the printer isn't networked, so we save the job on a memory card
I
and
just,
we kick it off the print.
I in fact,
Oh.
So, also, you somehow ended up in Mesh Mixer instead of the Slicer program.
Oh, yeah, I actually,
I made 3 parts and just
I
mirrored
actually
them.
programmed on Slicer, but I don't know what, but after processing it in, I didn't know what to do from there, so I saved it, and now that file from Slicer is in here.
Okay, so let me grab the memory card reader and you can print
I
next
typed in the millimeter. That's not that bad. I typed in the millimeter.
I put it down somewhere.
No, here it is a milliliter. 2 milliliters. That's a legal check.
Is anybody using this printer?
I was about to, but if he wants to, that's go ahead.
Is it cool because he hasn't printed
Yeah,
anything
that's
yet?
fine.
Yeah,
Because
can you
Jack's
grab
been
it?
like printing.
I printed one thing. Oh, what happened to those links, by the way, Jeff?
Which links?
I threw them to you.
Talking about. Those are sick.
I know they came out so much better.
Might be upside
Now
down.
must in fact build up.
Does Mesh Mixer print energy?
Chain width.
I don't know the answer to it.
Jeff, if you do have a
So I
second
couldn't
though,
find
can you
an
print
export
this
button. I was
like
like,
file
I
called
want one of
escape?
these, and I was like,
Escape
can I pull
block.
all of this?
Jeff,
So
Um,
like,
If you send me a file, either in Discord or email.
it's
I'll-
on the thing, I just put it on.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Okay, so can we go back to Slicer, because this program probably
no,
won't
I
be set up correctly for the purpose.
and then patterned it around the circle, around that axis. Then,
Okay, so did you say you saved out the job, or, well, let's just.
So this is file from Slicer, so it's all.
Yep. Okay, so these settings are actually just fine, so if you hit export to G-code, and then it defaulted to the right memory card, so you can just hit
The way
save.
they do it in here is.
Oh.
Yeah, play and then.
And now it will be sent to the card.
Yep, exactly.
Nice, so.
Okay, so we need to eject a card, so if you scroll down.
This is Cam. I'm
We can eject thing for the memory card.
I know, I'm already using.
I don't know how big this is
Why
thing
I
is,
save my
honestly, it's just like.
I've forgotten the thing now that you're talking. Fillet.
So it's good, no.
Still thinking about it. Come on, little buddy,
Fillet.
you can do it.
I'm chamfered fillet.
Your cream from Snow.com,
There we
yes.
go.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Okay,
why is
let's
this
go
here?
pop it in the printer.
Okay.
I wanna get my extended. My wonderfully escape. But I am going to actually figure out my PC mount.
And then there
And
we
then
go.
measure it.
I'll see you next week.
Does anyone, Jordan, do you have calipers?
At my house?
Yes.
No, I didn't end up buying them because.
Did anyone actually own calipers for themselves?
How could there be that many files? That's only like 144 cubic millimeters.
No, it's not your files. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff already on the,
Including,
on
but not
the,
limited
there we
to.
go. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm assuming.
Seems you are having an error, sir.
Yes, yes, you should save it. Okay, so it's heating up and then it'll start printing. So this will take a little while, so I'll set it aside for you. Your first print. What's up? Should you go?
Yes, you
Sorry, that was just kind of an oddly worded question.
Back to the
Back
future.
Yeah, so I'll see you later. Have a good one.
I can send you this during the week, right? And you'll print it.
Yes.
It's a legitimate part for his actual backpack. That's like.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
actually it's
That-
broken.
That is actually super cool that you're printing the replacement part.
I hope it works.
Well, you'll probably get close,
And
but
then
that's pretty tight tolerance, so then you just need to tweak it a little bit,
Yeah.
that's pretty normal. So, yeah, send it to me and I will print it and then.
No,
we'll
I know, I
talk
saw
about
that.
it.
No,
I'm glad that
there
you
was
said-
someone that definitely
Who was the person who wrote on the wall?
Nobody did, in the past, I've painted walls and then immediately had somebody write on them. So I just totally anticipated that somebody was gonna get confused between the whiteboard side and the non-whiteboard side.
Over the summer, I was like.
It's all of it's white.
Okay, guys.
Across a couple whiteboard walls, and then right next to them, there's a ton of marker always right on the edge of it.
It is a major blowout.
So Jeff, are you talking about something like this?
Yes. Yeah. So.
I did it with 7 pieces somehow, I don't know how.
That's
One
okay,
was
one
hiding.
extra's not gonna hurt.
One was hiding.
But I mean, for 3D printing, you only need to export one of them plus the game piece,
Yep.
and then when we set up the print job,
Essentially,
we'll
did it
say
one
print
part.
7
It was
like
like
6 of
the-
these.
Yep.
And then we just do it.
For the one part.
So what if I-
It's like a. It's a.
Did you send
with a
your
resin,
bearings?
yeah, with a resin free.
What is it called?
A resin free.
No, because you can't print two materials with a resin.
Here,
You're right, but you can print, it's the only kind
really
of thing
just
that prints two
white,
parts
gray,
that
and
touch
gold.
but don't.
That's all I have to hand.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like if I made
Layers of light.
You can print entire gearboxes.
if I made 6 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
You can print in white paper.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Well then if I did it that way, that would almost be easier. So I was thinking like if I made a base one color and then 6 of the pieces one color and then another base one color,
Oh, yeah,
6 pieces and then just split them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Too.
Oh,
I
I
see.
see. Did you print this in a loop, or is there steam in it somewhere?
No, it prints like this.
Oh, so crazy.
Right. So, yeah, it's pretty neat.
This is funny.
Yes.
I have a lot of spaghetti from 3D printing.
Oh, I just thought you